Hey, I'm Scott Moran, the co-founder of Samcart, the fastest growing e-commerce platform on the internet. Home to more than 10,000 businesses who have sold more than $1 billion of their own products, goods, and services on our platform. And in today's video, we're going to discuss 8 essential tips to building your brand. Most people think that creating a brand is all about your logo or having a pretty website. But in reality, that's just a small fraction of what building a brand really means. A brand is the sum total of interactions you have with your prospects and customers. Your brand is what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it. It's why people choose to follow you, do business with you, and tell their friends about you. A successful brand can turn an everyday product into something extraordinary. But building a successful brand is hard if you don't know what you're doing. And that's why we are here today. So with that, let's jump straight into the very first tip. Tip number 1, a unique value proposition, or UVP. When it comes to building a successful brand, we must first begin with a series of questions. Why does your brand exist? What does your brand do? And who does it do it for? There are more than 500,000 brands worldwide. Why does the world need yours? What are you bringing to the table? To answer these questions, you're going to have to figure out what your unique value proposition, or UVP, really is. So that's our first tip. Identify your UVP. UVP is also known as USP, or Unique Selling Proposition. It's a clear statement that describes the benefit of your offer, how you solve your customers' needs, and what distinguishes you from the competition. If you don't have this, you can't create a product or service, much less a brand that people care about. When you can answer these questions, everything else will fall into place. You can instantly communicate who your message is for, what niche you're in, and decide what you need to be selling. So before you spend a minute on your logo or your name, which we'll get to in a little bit, you first need to find out your UVP. Tip number 2, pick one product to sell. Once you've figured out your UVP, it can be enticing to want to create a bunch of products and get ready to start selling. But it's much smarter to start with one product that solves one problem. Apple didn't start by selling phones, watches, and music players. It began by selling computers. Tesla started with one electric car and then developed a different line of cars for SUVs, trucks, tractor trailers, and more. Starbucks didn't start as an espresso bar serving food and beverages. It began by selling coffee beans in bulk. Many of the most successful brands in the world started by selling one thing. And that's what you have to do if you want to start building your successful brand. Tip number 3 is to tell your story. The next tip of building a successful brand is to tell your story and tell it authentically. The power of the internet has made it easier than ever to start a brand. And while this is great, it also means much more competition. In a world full of competition, the best way to separate yourself is by being yourself, because no one else is like you. When telling your story, make it relatable to your prospects and customers. As consumers, we like buying from brands and people that are like us, or that we feel are for people like us. Tip number 4, create your logo and theme. Now with tip number 4, we finally make it to the logo and theme creation. When building a new brand, one of the biggest mistakes we see people making is starting with the logo before they even have a clear understanding of their UVP. And not only that, but they also spend months trying to nail down the perfect look for their brand. But here's the thing, there is no ideal logo in the beginning. That's because the brand makes the logo, not the other way around. You don't recognize Nike's check logo because it's a fantastic logo. You recognize it because it's Nike. Your logo doesn't become identifiable until your brand becomes identifiable. It doesn't matter if you have Picasso himself draw the perfect logo for you. If your brand is unknown, then no one cares what your logo looks like. On the flip side, you can have a brand with millions of followers with having a subpar logo, and it won't matter because your brand is still what is successful. I'm not saying you shouldn't invest the proper resources into getting a good quality logo. If you have the money to invest in a good designer to get a great one, go for it. But don't let a logo hold you back. And when you get it, run with it. Don't spend months trying to make it perfect. Tip number 5 is to be consistent. The next tip is a quick one, and it's all about consistency. Of course, we all know that being successful in business and with your brand means you have to show up every day and put in the work. But consistency doesn't only apply to the actual work we do in our business, but also pertains to the overall messaging and theme you put out there. You can't go changing your name and your messaging and your logo every month and expect to have a successful brand. You have to stay consistent, be proud of it, push it forward. And if you don't, how can you expect others to do the same? The next tip in growing a successful brand is to grow your community. Sometimes the community can even come before the brand itself. Think about the social media influencer that builds a huge following and then creates a new brand and product that sells out within minutes. This shows the power of having a strong community. With that being said, your community will likely come after you establish your brand. That's because without the brand, you don't know what your message is and who it's for. Again, the internet has made it easier than ever to build a community. In ancient times, people had to hand out flyers and travel on foot to spread the word about their products or services. Nowadays, you can write and publish a tweet in seconds that can be seen by hundreds, maybe even thousands of people just by looking at their phones. When it comes to building your community, it's best to start on social media platforms like Facebook or Instagram, or use other platforms like YouTube, podcasts, or blogs. There are many ways to get your message out there, but the key is to start somewhere. When getting started, we recommend choosing one or two of the platforms we've mentioned. Remember, a brand is nothing without its community, and the majority of the time you spend on your brand should be spent building your community. Tip number 7, listen to customers. The next tip is to listen to your customers because they are the lifeblood of any business. When it comes to making specific changes or additions to your brand or company, most people do it based on what they want or what their competitors are doing. Instead, you should be making changes based on what your customers are saying. Customers will provide insights on what they like and what they dislike about your brand. And this insight is going to help you continue to do what they love and improve what they hate. Obviously, you can't make a change every time someone says something, as that would go against our consistency tip. But you can make improvements when deemed necessary. Tip number 8, leverage your testimonials. To piggyback off of feedback from customers, the next tip is to leverage positive feedback or testimonials that you get from customers. We all know how convincing social proof can be. Think about how often you look at customer reviews before you do business with a company. How frequently have you bought something because of the simple fact that it was a recommendation from a friend? Many times we choose to interact or not interact with companies based solely on what others say about them. Don't be afraid to ask your customers for feedback, as many will be delighted to hand it over. Here at Samcart, we always ask our customers for their feedback to make improvements to our company and leverage testimonials to entice more people to join us in this journey. And there you have it. Those are 8 tips to help you build a successful brand. If you follow them, you'll be able to create a brand in any market you want. And the critical thing to remember is that you need to start by finding your UVP, building your community, and being consistent. The rest will take care of itself, I promise you. So there are 8 tips that you can take action on right now to start developing a killer brand. Brands sell, and when you follow this outline, yours will too. If you found this video helpful and you'd like to learn more about launching your own business, then you should check out our most popular training. It's called 10 Secrets to Launching Your 6-Figure Business Online, and it's full of the best strategies that we have used and that we see Samcart users putting out there every single day to launch and scale their own online businesses. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, do me a big favor, hit the thumbs up button down below, leave us a comment, and of course, remember to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.